Welcome to Magic 8 Ball with Melissa and Micaela. I'm Melissa Withers, Managing Partner of RevUp Capital.
And I'm Micaela Kamp, Director of Platform at RevUp.
Today we are talking about the role of authenticity in early stage biz building and how the emergence of AI everywhere is driving a surge in the demand for authenticity. Every company needs an AI strategy to survive. But aside from how a company uses AI to create competitive advantage and operational efficiency, there's another side to AI that impacts us all. And I don't think we've talked about it enough yet. Certainly we saw this a lot in 2024. AI is driving up demand for authenticity, and now we crave it as individuals. We thirst to see it, especially when someone is trying to sell us something. And I think in 2024, this burden of authenticity increased in challenging and expensive ways that we saw not only across our portfolio, but in all of the companies that we interact with. And the costs of being perceived as inauthentic have also skyrocketed. And I think demand for authenticity may have always been with us, but AI woke that dragon. As we're bombarded with AI agents, seeing and hearing about AI generated everything, many people have become understandably skeptical about the origin and authenticity of the messages that they're being sent. And this just isn't just about serving your market and winning over the trust of your customers. This demand for authenticity will come internally from your team members and your employees as well, because at the end of the day, we're just people, right? We're all experiencing this in the world, and we bring all of this into work, right? And I think the efficiency of AI or the perceptions of authenticity are now table stakes for almost any sales and marketing that you do. Like if you can't be perceived as AI, even if you're not really being authentic, it's just not going to work, right? And you can't project authenticity by being technologically superior. You don't project it through features or functionality. You have to project authenticity, through empathy, and you project authenticity by convincing someone that you understand and value their needs and desires, right? And while AI has made writing scripts and value props and kind of making the tactical creation of this material faster and more efficient, the work to finesse those outputs into something that resonates authentically has increased. And there's still a lot of that burden falls on the human. Micaela, you did a lot of work this year with our portfolio on the value of creating, emotionally driven content, content that connects, as a way to drive action, with authenticity being central to that outcome. Can you just talk first a little bit about the foundations of that idea and what does it mean to have content that connects and why does it matter?
Yeah, let's start with why it matters. Attention spans are short. And you have less than 3 seconds to get someone to stop scrolling and pay attention. And anything less than being authentic and creating that connection falls short on creating any impression at all.
Yeah.
So that's true. That's where using emotionally driven copywriting can help, because it is how you write to connect. And by tapping into the emotions of an audience, companies can create compelling and resonant messages that will stand the test of time past the scroll. And learning to harness that power of emotions can be a company superpower.
Okay. So I get the why. Can you talk a little bit more about what exactly does it mean? What does it mean to create that?
Of course. So emotionally driven copywriting, it really is just about tapping into your audience's desires, fears, aspirations, instead of just solely presenting facts or features, right? So the goal is to evoke a specific emotion or reaction from your audience, making your message more relatable and memorable. And you can see this being done terribly, but when done well, this type of copy will evoke an emotion or reaction from your people,
right?
Which will increase the chance they'll take any action, but specifically the one you want them to take. So from happiness and joy to fear or anxiety and every emotion in between, any emotion can be used to evoke any action from your audience. And when people connect emotionally with your message, they're likely to remember it, share it, and take action.
Yeah. With messaging without action, doesn't take action. You might as well burn money in a barrel. So even if you are using AI to support the production of this copy, which the robot can do really, really well, keeping it authentic is still hard. How are you training people to get better at this?
Yeah, I think it starts with having an understanding of your audience on a deeper level before you even begin writing, before you even begin how it's going to get written, right? You need to get a feel for what your audience is feeling, what they want, and what's essentially keeping them up at night.
Yeah.
Which essentially means you need to know exactly what's on their minds and leaning into the why.
Yeah. Like the emotion might be adjacent to the problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Because like,
yeah.
why are these emotions coming up, and why are these the specific challenges, and why is it something they even care about? Right. And what I often recommend to teams is to take any insights they've done from any customer discovery process, ask those deeper questions of the like, okay, why are they feeling this way? And use them to create a detailed customer persona and what I call an empathy map. Which essentially is the map should outline their motivations and emotions throughout the entire life cycle.
Which is different than the kind of demographic information that you'll see in a typical persona.
Like, what is getting them to look for a solution? What happens when they learn about solutions? It's essentially mapping that out. And what it does give you is a blueprint for crafting copy that connects on a real emotional level at like every step of the way, even after the point that they found a solution and they've chosen you. So that's like step one. But when it comes to the actual writing, a few things I think are essential. First is word choice. Like when you want to write in a way that is emotional, you have to focus on using emotionally charged language, right? Like that means you want words that stir up the right emotions and align with the message that you're conveying, not just a very functional feel.
Yeah.
The second is, how are you framing those words? So are you emphasizing the benefits of taking action, or are you calling attention to what happens if they don't? And this decision really shapes how you'll evoke the emotions and how you'll get them to take the action or what direction to go next. And lastly, like a really practical one that I like to tell our companies, because it's one of my favorite things, is honestly, it's okay to steal directly.
Put my words in your mouth.
Exactly. Steal directly from your customers. And I'm not talking about just quoting them, because that's where you'll get people being like, oh I have a testimonial. And it's like, no. Read the testimonial. What words are they using? How are they phrasing things?
Use those words.
Use those words when you write copy.
Absolutely.
Because
it's amazing how that people skip past that.
People skip past it.
It's a no-brainer.
But it's essentially, it's like if you are speaking their literal language.
Yes, their literal language. Yeah,
it makes
it will resonate because they said it.
It makes it way more authentic, and it feels real because someone else actually said it.
Yeah.
And honestly, to do this, as you mentioned, like we're currently seeing more companies integrating AI into the mix of these outputs. But it's still the human touch that makes the connection between your audience and company real, right?
Yep.
So how are you seeing this balance unfolding in our portfolio companies?
Yes. Well, it's funny. It's the tsunami of AI has created this surge in demand for authenticity. And I guess some light at the end of the tunnel is you can use these AI tools, right, in order to do this. And AI can do a lot of the work. If you've done like you said, the groundwork, right? And you're feeding the right inputs in, you can use AI to generate a lot of the language you mentioned above. But one thing the AI really still can't do effectively is tell that story for you, right? Yeah. And how a story gets told really matters. For example, having a company brand feels a lot less authentic than it did 5 years ago. People don't want to hear value props from a logo, right? They want to hear it from a person, like a real person. And like founders, that person is you, right? Personality-driven marketing isn't just for consumer brands anymore. No. It's not just about, yoga pants and makeup and sports drinks.
Literally,
like nobody wants to talk to a logo, right? And it was one thing to expect, Steve Jobs to have a personal brand. But what does it mean when the CEO of an early stage software company has to have some fairly visible and reasonably polished personal brand that they're leveraging to share the company's point of view, right? It's just closely correlated to the way that AI has made EQ more important than ever. And in this sense, and this is really hard for the founders that are put in this position, a major pathway to authenticity is to project empathy, not just expertise. Yep. And this is harder to do than you might think. Not every founder comes out ready to be the personal face of their brand or able to produce that kind of thought capital or even comfortable being on stage with a microphone, like going down that path. no logos and brand reps are going to evoke that empathy. So the burden falls on the team. I saw a lot of great founders struggle this year with how to get that job done. And if the founders themselves, I saw the founders, struggling to grow into this role and really, really trying hard, rolling up their sleeves, taking more risks. Because again, there's risk in this. If you're really using emotionally charged content, if you're being vulnerable, if you're being honest, you're going to have to say things that somebody out there might not like. So a lot of founders really struggling with this. Some of them, struggling less and doing better, but really giving it their best shot. And, when the founders really weren't right for the job, I saw them struggling with how to substitute for that. It's just hard to outsource that.
Yeah.
You have to look for other personalities in your team that can fill the role, right? But you can't hire an actor to play you,
exactly.
On LinkedIn. It's not, it just doesn't really work. And it's a missing skill set that's missing for many really great founders. And developing that skill set or substituting for a lack of it is a real cost driver today inside of even the smallest company. And I think it's something we need to support founders better around.
Yeah. And that's an excellent point. And to the point that you made before, I know something many founders have asked me when going on this journey of being the face, right? Is how do you ensure emotional storytelling resonate authentically without being manipulative or forced, right? Because there is a fine line. Yeah, exactly. Or how do you not feel like a paid actor?
Yeah. How do you not feel like a paid actor? Yeah.
And for me, authentic emotional storytelling is all about finding the balance between vulnerability and transparency while staying true to your values and message, right? For example, the best stories don't evoke emotion just for the sake of a reaction. They connect with the audience because they speak to
they
should.
They should.
And it's a shared experience, a shared struggle, or a shared triumph, right?
Yeah.
It's the reason we get so frustrated when we fall for clickbait, because we're not actually responding to a genuine bid for connection. We're responding to a trick for a reaction.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're telling a story, whether in a marketing campaign or in a pitch, right? It should feel like you're inviting an audience into a moment with you.
Yeah.
You're in it together. And it's not about just having them have all these feels and tugging at the heartstrings. It's about being genuine and sharing the experience, because then the story will align with your purpose. If it doesn't align with your purpose, it becomes more obvious, right?
That's so true.
Another way I describe this to our founders is I describe any interaction you have with a customer as a value exchange between you and your customer, any way that they interact with you. And the questions I will ask myself is, what are they gaining from listening to your story? And why does that matter to them? And if you can answer those in a way that isn't just about getting a response or getting a sale, you are more likely to have more impact.
That's a great screen to use to test whether something is worthy of putting out there. Is can you identify the value transaction in that communication?
And why does it matter? And when you have those answers, it comes from a more authentic place because you are actually thinking through it. And honestly, as we've kind of mentioned, it's when you're clear about your company's message and your values and the people you're speaking to, that becomes easier to emotionally connect them because you understand them on a deeper level than just they'll buy my product.
Yeah. I think what's tough for founders is you have to get good at all of this while talking to your customers and your peers and your stakeholders and other people in your industry. And then you also have to get better at projecting authenticity to your internal team.
Exactly.
Right? It really is a two-sided marketplace in that sense. What we experience outside of work, in this sense, a growing sense that everything is a computer-generated message that just is designed to trick me into buying something. I think we come into the work environment and we are less tolerant of behaviors that seem opaque, right? And authenticity, I think, at work kind of translates into a growing demand for transparency, right? Radical transparency, if you're interested, the other episode. And I think leaders who lean into that, end up I hope, create environments, where trust and collaboration kind of thrive. And when people feel like they're in the loop, they're more engaged, or a little more resilient, a little more likely to stick with it. And as we talked about in another episode, transparency reduces drama a little bit, right? So I think, AI has made many things faster, cheaper, and easier. But in doing so, the burden of authenticity increased in ways that AI cannot solve for. And one thing AI still can't do is pay for things for us. AI has an empty wallet. There are no bucks in the robot's wallet.
Correct.
And I think when we're doing planning right now for 2025 and beyond with our companies, you have to have really deep conversations about what efforts and activities do you need to undertake to ensure that you're really building that authentic, transparent messaging. And it might cost money. Like this stuff isn't free.
No.
Right. And founders aren't going to wake up one day able to produce all the materials that are required. They might need training, coaching. You might need outside folks to come in and help you produce these materials. And it's something that there almost needs to be a line item now in the, even above the marketing and sales budget, right? Like in the C-suite that talks about how is even a small company, like larger companies have kind of brand budgets, right? Company brand budgets. Smaller companies now, I think, need to be thinking about, even if it's just time and not money, what are you investing into now so that you are not falling behind the curve?
Exactly.
Right. That again, it's just 5 years ago, I didn't need you to be good at this. Today, I do.
Yeah.
Well, Micaela, since 2024 taught us that logic, reason, and history are useless in guiding human decision-making, I think it's time we just do what all we can do, which is turn to the magic 8 ball for guidance.
All right. Magic 8 ball. Let us know. Is authenticity a skill that can be taught?
Oh,
wait. Oh, it is certain.
You can teach someone how to be authentic.
Authentic?
Actually, you do it every day in the work that you do with our companies. So
fair.
Every time you touch the magic 8 ball, it gives you good news. I think
It just really likes me.
this magic 8
We're
ball
best friends.
Yeah, has really found its home. So
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
You can learn to be authentic too, one step at a time.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.